Welcome everybody to another episode of the Good Game Podcast. I'm your host Sam Rainima with Vegas Round around the corner. I'm joined today with very good friends of mine, Greg Hackathorn and Stefan Morris. We're going to be talking about their experiences growing up in the States and the sporting culture. We're going to touch on why they fell in love with rugby league, why they follow the sport, who they follow. They follow, some of them, Stefan follows multiple teams. We're also going to talk about, some of the things we do well, some things that we can learn from the American sports. And so it'll be a great conversation. Make sure you tune in. Let's kick this thing off. All right, cool. Joined with the boys, with the guys today. My American expats, now Aussie citizens, or soon to be an Aussie citizen. Tomorrow. Wow, but
the eve of citizenship.
But I appreciate you guys coming on. Greg and Stefan have been very good friends over the years, and with Vegas Round. Fast approaching, I thought it would be pretty cool to get them on the pods and kind of give us an American perspective of the game. The whole goal of Vegas Round is to tap into the market over there. Peter V'landys is very passionate. Him and Andrew Abdo, they have a vision. They feel like there's an appetite for sports in America already, and they've done. I think this may be the fourth year. I should know this already. I should have done my research before. I'm pretty sure it's the fourth year, yes, it is the fourth year, and it's making, I believe we're gaining new supporters in that market. So I thought it would be pretty cool to kind of get the perspective of some Americans. Even, like I said, it's the fourth year, and I haven't really seen in the other pods them interview Americans to get their view of the game. If we're trying to tap into that market, I thought it'd be interesting to kind of see, how they view the sport and all that. So thanks for coming on. Stefan and Greg, I don't know if you want to kind of introduce yourselves and a little bit of how long you've been in the States, what brought you here, who brought you here.
So for those who don't know, I'm Stefan. I've been in Australia for about close to 5 years. I think in March it's going to be 5 years. I came when during COVID. What brought me here was my wife. Greg and I are not necessarily brother-in-laws because that's not how it works, but we still call each other brother-in-laws.
We are brothers in love. That's what we are.
Brothers in Christ.
That doesn't work. That's the same. Brothers-in-law? No. You're brothers-in-law to
because technically we married sisters.
Yeah.
So, sure. But we obviously still consider each other family. And so being around... Australians, we just decided, I guess I decided to move here because I saw that Americans can come here and thrive. Just decided that based on a bunch of different factors that Australia was the place that we wanted to move to and grow our family.
Sure.
It's a little bit about me, and I guess we can...
I'm Greg. I've been here, 16, 17 years? Been here a long time. I think 17 years now. Yeah. So many that I've lost track of how many years. But I came here specifically for the NRL.
Yeah.
Sure, it's okay. No, I met my wife at Bible school over in the States. She went there for school. Yeah. We met. Started a relationship. Moved here. And, been here for 17 years coming up. And... it's been awesome. Love Australia. Love Sydney in particular. And enjoy rugby. So
yeah, awesome. Thanks for coming on. And I know he's busy guys and took time out of your schedule. Actually, congratulations to Stefan. He's officially going to become an Aussie tomorrow. Well,
That's
you
right.
already said it, but the ceremony's tomorrow.
No. Yeah, you get your everything.
Oh, you get everything tomorrow.
So
so he's American for one more day.
Fully American for one more day.
American.
And then I have to...
Now he has dual allegiances.
Yeah, I don't know how that works,
Yeah.
essentially, but it's good. He's been Greg, it's been what, 10 years since?
Yep. So I became a citizen just before my daughter was born.
Yep.
My wife wanted me to try and do that if possible. So I had some umming and ahhing about it. Pretty patriotic. Come from a family that served in the military.
Sure.
I actually at one point was thinking about serving in the military.
Yeah.
But it was the best decision. So
yeah. Well, there was there's a reason why he came here. So, Greg passes the Pentecostals of Central Coast. So if you're ever in that area looking for a church, there's a great church over there, and that's obviously how I met the guys, through church, and have been able to develop, a great relationship over the years. Greg is the reason why I go for the Kansas City Chief. No, it's not. It's really Pat Mahomes, but yeah. So ever since Greg came to Australia, he follows. And we're going to get into that later. He follows a number of sports, and we've always followed like different teams. He's a Jordan fan. I was a LeBron fan, and. But
hey, I like that past tense was.
Yeah. I am. Some of the complaining frustrates me when he complains to refs and that. That still annoys me, as great as he is. But then But when Patty Mahomes came on the scene, he really drew me to the NFL. I'm not an expert at it, but it was actually refreshing to be able to follow at least one team and one sport together. And we've had pretty good success over there.
And I can attest that you didn't jump on the bandwagon. When you saw him, you wanted to follow straight away before he had all that success.
Yeah. No, he's a phenomenal player. Hopefully we have some better luck next year or next season anyway. But and Stefan, ever since you came, man, you've been pretty much like you love the game. We'll get into that, just maybe get some of your what was it like for following sports in the States? And I've been to America for the first time last year in October last year. Went to Palm Bay in Florida, and I was very fortunate enough to catch a Magic Bulls game at Kia Arena there in Orlando. So that was like a tick on the bucket list, and just being able to kind of see firsthand how how Americans kind of the organization, how they run their events and their sports. I don't know if you want to go first, Greg, about what was sports like when you were growing up.
Yeah, I mean, if you're an American guy, you like sports, and that's pretty much how I got into all the Australian sports. Is I recognize straight away that if you're an Australian guy, you like sports, and if you can't talk the language of sports, it's hard to have conversation. But I grew up being a fan of pretty much every sport: baseball, basketball, football. I think baseball was probably my favorite as far as following it. I'm not sure why. I think maybe because of the heartbreak of the Chiefs. They were really good in the 90s, but never won anything. And then now, they win everything. But we never had a professional basketball team, so it was hard for me to really grab a hold of a team. I was a Reggie Miller fan as a kid, and so I kind of migrate like a lot of Aussies do based on their favorite player. So you go from team to team. And so I've been a fan of the Pacers. I've been a fan of I kind of went to the Warriors when Steph Curry was drafted, and then once Durant joined them, even though I love Kevin Durant, it was hard to cheer for a juggernaut. I've never cheered for a juggernaut, and so just really enjoy sports. Have really enjoyed following different teams over the years. In the U.S., we have our professional sports, but our college sports is also a big deal. We love our college sports, football, basketball, and so and some states are really into even college baseball. But so I also loved following my college football teams, my college basketball teams. Sports year round, bro. It's just what we did.
That kind of always fascinates me. The culture with college sports, it's.
Well, what's funny with it, Sam, is even people that are into college sports, they might not even go to that college. It might just be based on where they live. I didn't go to the college, but Missouri was my team.
And like for a lot of people, that college team is their team.
Yeah.
Like they might not even follow like like the NFL,
especially
team.
from college towns.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's wild. Like just when I see some of the, I don't know what they call it, that last practice before before the season starts, and it's like the stadium's packed.
Yeah,
packed like more numbers than a NRL game. You know, it's it's quite. That always like, what do they call it? What do they call that crazy in September for the basketball, or is it March Madness?
March Madness, yeah.
Like that stuff like that is just kind of wild. Just the culture over there.
Well, I went to a few years back. I was visiting the States in August, and it was during the Chiefs preseason.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And so I actually went to where they were training and stuff, and there's thousands out there just watching them practice.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's crazy.
Yeah. What about you, Stefan?
Yeah, I mean, what is sports like in America? I think that's tough because it's different depending on where you live.
Yeah.
Sure.
In Kansas City, the Chiefs are like a religion, right?
Bro,
like it's
crazy.
That's their team. If you're from Kansas City, everyone's wearing, the red and the Chiefs emblem. And if in New York, a lot about competition because there's so many different teams. So you actually grow up playing different sports, and even depending on where you live, one sport might be more important, or depending on like the teams at that time. Like for example, basketball is huge in New York.
Yeah,
because you have like an actual court that sits in the middle of Manhattan, right? It's one of the they call it like, it's not just for basketball, but they had like boxing events and everything. So like Madison Square Garden they call it the Mecca, right?
Right,
you know?
It's icon, man. It's iconic, man.
And then it's funny because like with their football teams, even though the only actual New York football team is in Buffalo. It's because they
technically
play
in New Jersey,
which is like, it's close to the metro area, but it's technically Jersey. But
Buffalo. But what about the Giants?
They're both
they both play in New Jersey.
In New Jersey.
That's where the stadium is.
Oh, okay. They share the stadium.
The stadium. They've always
like
shared the stadium for
like
since I was born, right?
Okay, sure.
But they used to play the way the New York sports scene and the landscape was, it sort of moved around. Different teams came. So, for example, the Giants that were in San Francisco, they actually came from Manhattan.
Okay.
Right? They went out. The Dodgers also went from Brooklyn out to LA. The Mets came in. The reason why they actually wear orange is because like that is like that was actually what came from the Giants.
Okay.
And then the Giants football team came in because they were, following suit. All these different. If you have a map and you lay everything out, and so essentially the way that based on normally the borough or where they play, that's generally what team you normally followed. So traditionally, if you were a Mets fan, you would traditionally be a Jets fan. Not that doesn't happen as much anymore, but sort of that's how it was. And they both played in Citi Field, and that once was, and that's near the airport.
Are you a Knicks fan?
Knicks. So for me, it's interesting, right? So the sports that the way that I grew up, I actually, the first team that I found out about, or first player, was Kevin Garnett when he played on the Timberwolves.
Okay.
And I was a Timberwolves fan for like the longest time. I mean, when I was like 7, right? And I had I didn't really I wouldn't even call myself a sports fan, but like in terms of NBA, I was a Timberwolves for the longest time, and then until for like a little while, and I don't really bring this up because it's sort of like a past thing, but they had Stephon Marbury, and he had the first same name, and I would always learn how to just lay up just like him, because that's kind of what he used to. He would just attack the rim, and that's sort of the play style I had. So I was like on and off, on again. I think NBA is a very unique place, in a very unique place where most people actually cheer for like the players rather than the team. But I would say in terms of like the regular teams, I became a Jets fan because of the family that are around me. Like the first game I went to was a Jets Cowboys game, and they lost, and they've been losing ever since.
But do you find like do you find that people tend to, like families, you tend to follow the one team?
It
like
just normally just passed down to you. So the reason why I became a Yankees fan, it was actually given by a friend because I T-ball is one of the first sports that you do, and then you play like just regular baseball. And so I just needed to pick a team, and he was a Yankees fan. None of my family really followed baseball, so that was like the one sport that was given to me. That was the one team, like sport where a team was given to me. And I'm very grateful that this one was given to me because I got to see what champions are like.
Okay.
Also, like the colors, everything about it.
The winningest franchise in American sports is the Yankees.
Oh, the Yankees. Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
but they haven't won
more.
I don't know about.
Well, when I was growing up, they had a three-peat. So let's not get carried away.
Yeah.
But like
it's been a while.
Since like 2002, they've only won one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
I joke with him that the Royals have won as many titles as they have in the last.
And you see like the Red Sox and Dodgers just really just pummeling them in terms of...
The one thing kind of, I guess, is foreign to me is how your franchises can move. You know what I mean? Like that's, you know, the Raiders move, you know what I mean? Like that, like, and so like, do you, if say your team was to move, would you move with them, or would you like follow another team in your area? Like that's an interest. Like I don't know.
Yeah, well, I think it depends on why you're cheering for your team. So, for example, I've got a lot of history with the Chiefs, but I don't cheer for the Chiefs because I like, red and gold, or I'm a big fan of Native Americans. Like I cheer for the Chiefs because they're from Kansas City. And so if they were to leave Kansas City, that would be like, I think I'd write them off. Because you're more dedicated to your, at least me personally, I'm more dedicated to my birthplace than I am to a sports franchise. So if they were to do that, I think most Kansas City fans would write them off because it's betrayal.
Well, I guess the only thing we have closest to that is the Perth Bears, but they're taking over a franchise, or and all of that, because the Perth Bears was kicked out of the NRL, back in the, I think, late 90s, but they just adopted that kind of, the logo, the branding, but unless it's like that situation, we don't get teams moving around. It has happened, but like I know the Canterbury Bulldogs was actually the Berries. I think they were in Melbourne or something like that. You know what I mean? Oh no, that's the Swans. Sorry, that's the Swans.
Yeah, you do see that in the AFL. So, for example, the Swans, the Sydney Swans, they were once out in Melbourne, right? Yeah. And they still have like a local presence out in Melbourne, and I think even the Brisbane team, the Lions, because they call themselves like the Bears or something like that. That's right. Yeah. So you do see it.
It's an NRL show,
but not in the NRL, which is interesting because in America you feel like because it's such a profitable business. Yeah. I think as we sort of grew from when I was a kid loving sports, I think we grow up and see now it's just more of like a business. Yeah. Like I'm looking at it differently now. Like
we may get mergers. We get mergers like obviously the Dragons,
St. George of
like
Tigers, but
as a Jets fan, part of me is it's what's keeping me is nostalgia. Yeah. But right now, at the end of it,
well, you can't give up. Once you're decades in, you can't give up. If you give up on a team after decades, and then they win, it's just like there's nothing worse than that.
Oh, but then that's totally true. But I think,
bro, you're talking to a guy. I waited 30 years for my team's success,
and I'm waiting 16 years for a playoff spot. So I mean, but.
To be fair, I waited a long time for a playoff win. We made the playoffs.
So I think like in terms of like I'm just seeing it more as a business. From now what it's becoming, or what it's shifting to is you're sort of loving someone else's team, right? These owners that are making money and then selling whenever they. So I think that's sort of the whole. I think that's what people are seeing, and I think players are also sharing that sentiment as well. That's why there's less loyalty from when we were children, right?
Yeah, I think the NFL would probably be the one area where they're still pretty loyal. Baseball, they move around a lot. Basketball, they move around a lot. Yeah. But the NFL, I think a lot of it has to do with the way they structure salaries. Not to get too into the weeds, I know this is an NRL show, but the way they structure the contracts, they tend to stick with the teams a bit longer because they get paid more by the team that drafted them. They're
sure.
able to get paid more earlier.
By
the team that drafted them, and so they tend to stay a bit longer with those teams.
Yeah, it's just I think America, the organizations themselves, they're like the pinnacle, I guess, of professionalism. A lot of one thing the feedback that I heard about the Vegas round, I think it's Allegiant Stadium.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, and just the way people were commenting on the stadium itself, and obviously they're on another level when it comes to their facilities, and even the way the media kind of landscape. You got so many like almost like it's 24/7. Because you got to play sports on one coast or another, so that it's just constantly kind of providing you content. So a lot of people look up to the States and the way they run their sports, and so I obviously with Vegas round coming, just wanted to get your perspective when you moved here. Like probably I'm thinking about when you both moved here, the game's changed a bit.
So much. The game has changed since I started watching it.
Yeah, it's much faster now.
Yeah, so I just wanted to get like your your perspective on the game. What attracted, because again you just already shared about baseball, basketball, NFL. Like these games are massive all around the world, especially like in the States. I would say basketball is probably more of an international game.
Yeah.
And baseball to some extent. I guess the NFL is kind of a little bit more kind of niche in that sense. To the States.
Yep.
But and rugby league is in that we're trying to grow the sport. Rugby union is more of an international game. But I could be biased. I'm biased here. I think rugby league is a great product. So I just wanted to get like, we're trying to, Volandis and the NRL are trying to tap into the American market. Just wanted to get like your idea of what was your, perception of the game, what drew you in. Obviously, like it was your family, like your wives and their family, and got you into the sport. But just because they follow a team, it doesn't mean you're automatically guaranteed going to like the sport. Do you know what I mean? Like if they liked badminton, doesn't mean you're going to be the maddest badminton fan. So yeah, what was maybe I'll start. Maybe you've been here the longest, I guess, Greg. And
yeah, so my family they follow the St. George Illawarra Dragons.
Yep.
So St. George Dragons, and apologies to Illawarra fans out there,
Steelers fans.
But so they're the ones that kind of roped me into following them, and it was a tremendous start. 2009, we were the minor premiers. 2010, we won it all.
Yeah.
2011 was a decent year, good year, but I think just struggled with injuries and all that. 2012, I became a member, and that was the beginning of the end, for the Dragons. But I think what drew me to the sport is just how similar it is to football in a way, like NFL, but the pace of play. And then obviously I already mentioned it that I'm a guy. I'm wanting to connect to other guys in Australia, and if you live in Sydney, you're gonna follow rugby league. You're gonna follow. You got to pick a team, at least a team. Even if you don't really watch it, you got to cheer for a team. And so that was kind of like the entry point. It's like, okay, well, this is what they do. This is what we do. And so I started watching it, and I really enjoy rugby league. One of the best benefits is that it gives me football year round. As I say, NFL season ends in February, and then that's as soon as preseason begins for league, and takes me all the way through to the beginning of NFL again. So I'm blessed with football year round.
So jealous. 2 years in the country, and he already experiences his team winning the comp. I'm a Bunny supporter, and I've been following league for so long. I had to wait till 2014, and I guess you're pulled to the Dragons. But thankfully you had some success.
Yeah, we had Wayne Bennett, and then he left and took everybody with him.
Yeah.
And went to
took his son Darius Boyd with him.
Yeah, took his adopted son Darius Boyd, my favorite player. Took him with him.
Was he really your favorite player?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. He was in my opinion, he was the best player on those Dragons teams.
Okay.
And I enjoyed the way he played, and it was always difficult Origins time when Darius was on the Dragons because he's on the other team. But I really enjoyed it. It was funny because none of my teams had ever won anything.
Yeah, well,
like my Kansas City teams. I teams that from St. Louis had won stuff, but I lived in St. Louis, but I'm a Kansas Cityan by nature. Yeah. And my mom and dad both grew up lived in both cities, Kansas City and St. Louis, and so they would find themselves cheering for St. Louis teams, and I would too as well. But it's different when it's your actual your hometown team. Yeah. So none of my teams had won anything, and then the Dragons won second year. And I was just like, it was funny because the first year they were minor premiers, and they were this was back at the old finals where one would play 8. Is that right?
Yeah.
In the first game, and the Eels were on fire, and the Eels beat them. And it's like, well, the 1 seed was the only one that got the second bite at the apple. And so it was like, well, maybe they'll play better in the second. They became the first minor premiers team to be eliminated after 2 games. So it was like, of course, that's my team.
Yeah.
But then they did the job the next year.
Yeah, there was kind of, they had this kind of tag of choking in the finals because they had a really good roster, and they just never got over the mark. But you had success in 2010. Which was, again,
that's a long way back.
But I was going to give you hope, but it doesn't look good either.
It doesn't look good.
We had top 8 predictions last week, and Dragons.
I don't think they mentioned. Were they mentioned? I don't think they mentioned them at all. Not one of you three.
Not one. Stefan, have you chosen a team? You've chosen a team. Stefan has been searching for a team.
So infamously, I've been going from team to team every single year, for sometimes good reasons and sometimes bad reasons. I think it all started with me when I first came, the first time visiting Taylor. You guys took me to a Bulldog Sharks game in where the Sydney Olympic Park is. Yeah. And for those listening outside of Australia, it's a really, really big stadium. Yeah. And there was about 12 people there. So for me, my first stint in rugby league,
it was a small group. Then.
It was a premier. I thought we had. I remember getting there, and I remember talking to Taylor. I was like, Taylor, I don't know if we're gonna find parking. And she said to me specifically, she said, "We'll be all right." And we rocked up, and there wasn't anyone there. And I thought, I didn't think like rugby league was professional, right? Because coming from if I thought it was even preseason you would have more outcome and everything. So at first I didn't have much to think about. And then 3 years later, I obviously moved here during COVID. And obviously, the one thing you want to do is have mutual things to connect with, the people here. And what better way than 2 weeks of lockdown in a hotel room? Good news. That was all that was on TV because they had terrible Wi-Fi, the worst Wi-Fi. So all I could do is watch what was on the TV. They had Foxtel, so I was able to watch everything about rugby league, and that's kind of where I got my stint. Yeah. And I remember just talking with everyone, you had people saying, go for the Titans because they don't win anything. Or, Greg's telling me to go for the Dragons. And I was like, I don't know. We'll see. I kind of like a competitive because I thought back in New York, you normally just go against the team of your brother because, to New York.
So you can fight about it.
And because there's 62 teams in Sydney, I was like, oh, that's great. I can just pick another one here. This is just like New York. No. So I didn't really think of any team, and the first game I saw was on during that time was the Storm and Eels, and I saw a fellow bald person with a broken nose. His name is Blake Ferguson, and I remember everyone's like, we do not like the Storm, and I remember the way he picked those guys. They didn't pick him up, but they tried tackling him, and he still slammed the ball, past the try line, and I was like, nah, maybe like the Eels are like, yeah. And I know what Parramatta is, you know, like I remember visiting that place once before, and I don't even know if there's another team called Eels. I think they're the only one in the world.
They are, yeah.
So I was like, you know what, for the first team, just to get the hang of it, I'd be an Eels fan. That didn't really work out very well. I didn't really care. The yellow and blue or gold and blue, or whatever colors, it didn't really stick. So I was like, you know what?
No. You got to tell the whole story. You can't just skip through that.
Yeah. So the whole story, I'm just going to, just like we went to a game and.
Was it the Dragons?
When was that game? And who were you playing?
Yeah, so we went to a Dragons game because I said, wasn't it your Bucks party? Yeah, it was the party that everyone, like I think all 20 of us went to.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
and we were,
Eels Dragons game.
But you have to the whole context.
At the new stadium.
The whole context was I asked Greg. I said, "What game will the Eels win against?"
Yeah, because the Dragons are terrible.
And he goes, just pick the Dragons. They're horrible. And Eels went on like a 3-game win streak. Yeah. They beat the Storm. Right, that was like the first game, and I was like, let's do this game. This is perfect. They got
destroyed.
I don't
absolutely destroyed.
Like absolutely. And I remember just being like, yeah, nah, maybe this is not it. I have so much PTSD from being a Jets fan. I was just like, no, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And so that year went by.
What about the next team?
So I was like, you know what? I will pick the team that Greg and the family. Oh no, I actually.
No. You went to the new team, the Dolphins.
Not yet, because the Dolphins came after.
Okay.
So it was the Eels, and then I actually found I didn't even know, but I found out that Jeff played for the Dragons.
Yeah.
And then I was like, that is a reason to go for the Dragons. I didn't actually know he played. I thought he played or just went for the whole family.
Jeff's our father-in-law.
Yeah.
He played for the juniors, and I was like, that's pretty cool. Like that's something that I can tell my future daughter about,
Yeah.
And I remember thinking that it would be so cool getting together and watching the games together. And then I remember halfway through they were losing really bad, and Greg goes, I'm not really in. And I go, what do you mean you're not really in? I just swapped. Like, it's a big deal. I don't do this in America. Like this. And then he's like, yeah, it's just, they're not that good. And the Chiefs were like destroying everything. So I was like, I it makes sense. You have a team to root for. It's
hard to cheer for a dynasty at the same time you're cheering for a team that can't win.
Yeah.
And it made sense. And then what really broke the camel's back was the new team that came in, the Dolphins. But the problem with the Dolphins, and this is where my loyalty in the type of teams that I go in, it skewed what I really can go for as a team. And what that means is the first time that Greg and I watched the State of Origin, which for those watching in America, it is one of the greatest competitions in Australia, probably, right?
In the world.
And so for me, the fact that New South Wales, from a legal standpoint, allowed me in the country during COVID, right? And there's also this pinning rivalry between both states. I don't think, and I even asked you, and you're like, could you go for New South Wales and a Queensland team? He's like, yeah. And I was like, that doesn't work. You can't go for a Boston. It's really difficult to go for a team in Boston.
You asked me.
I was like, would I? Because I actually specifically, I was like, could I be a Dolphins fan in New South? And you're like, in the past, no. But things have shifted so much
because for the Broncos,
the players.
But for me, it's I can't. If even during the last year's grand final, I couldn't watch. I couldn't watch the Broncos win, not because the Broncos are winning, but Queensland won. The what's it called? The
Lions.
The Lions.
The
Lions. The Brisbane Lions. All these Queensland teams are winning, and I'm just like, no, that can't happen because it's a competition at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So I tried with the Dolphins for a bit. A few Queenslanders were happy about that, and I was like, nah, I had to jump ship.
We went to another game.
Oh yeah, that's right. And maybe I'm just etching these out of my memory.
Stefan is when you throwing a party and you gotta get you test the different things to see what's gonna go on the menu. that's what like your journey with trying to pick it, and like you're bringing everything out and you're trying each one, and then you're gonna decide like what you're gonna serve at your wedding.
But this was the better. Like this was even funnier because I was like, oh, Greg, let's go to Wollongong.
Yeah, we drove down to Wollongong and went to the Dragons.
We brought Reagan and Ava.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, it's gonna be so much fun. Like everyone, the game prior to not the game prior, but the game they played against the Dolphins and the Dragons, the Dolphins played a tremendous, right? They were killing it. It was in the beginning of the season. Once again, destroyed again. And Greg's like,
your team can't win every game you go and watch.
And Greg's like, yeah, and
I need to go to every game, I think.
And Greg's like, actually, yeah, maybe I'll be a fan of the Dragons. Yeah. And I was like, ah. So then the next year, I think this is year 4. So this is last year. I was like, you know what? Like let me try the Dragons one more time. There's like a feeling, and again, it's just like Greg's like, no. And it's funny because every single year, like it seems like they're getting sort of like closer to like stability.
Yeah.
And I think when we talking to the differences between American sports and NRL sports, I think there's a strong a gap between, these sort of upper echelon teams like the Storm, Roosters, and then sort of these other teams that, where it's becoming possible to be the last place every year for 3 years with the West Tigers. So, like, these teams don't show stability, which is interesting. And that's a reason for why it's so hard maybe to pick a team.
Yeah. Well, especially when you kind of... I'm the same with the NBA. Like, I'm not from the States, so I follow players. And, so I don't feel that. Except, obviously in the NRL, I follow the Bunnies because I was a South Sydney junior, and I played, kind of junior reps, how I imagine that, with the Bunnies. So I feel, obviously, a connection with them. But you brought up an interesting point, which I didn't even kind of consider. It was when you said that you went to that first game and there was hardly anyone there. And that's like, because rugby league, the TV deals are a big thing because the sport itself is kind of, it's out of all the sports in Australia, like it's perfect for TV. Like it's kind of tailor-made for TV, which is good for if you're watching it at home or you're watching it somewhere, but it's not good if you're watching it live in terms of atmosphere, because a lot of the money the NRL is getting is from the TV deals with Fox and with Channel 9 and all of that, so they tend to obviously be biased towards the networks, and which, if you're watching, when you're used to it, you're used to it. But when you're watching it on TV, like, we're used to the empty seats, seeing the empty seats in the back. So it's hard for us to kind of understand, like, you're coming from the States and you're coming from packed out training sessions. Yeah. College games are packed out. And then you come here, and if one of your first experience is in a stadium that's like 10% full, if you don't understand how the TV deals work, and if you don't I can see why you would think, man, is this a professional sport? But then it's kind of interesting how you gained a kind of passion or a love, or at least an interest for the game when you were in your hotel room watching it on TV, which is what it's kind of like. Kind of proves the point of why they are happy to they're like not focus on the attendance. Personally, I've always thought that they should just lower the prices of everything. If you're going to make the same profit margin, then you might as well just
I agree with that.
And the Doggies done it really well last year. There were some games where they were like $10 tickets, you know what I mean? So you're packing out the stadium. Like, what's the difference if your tickets are more expensive and you're only getting 5,000, but they're cheaper, you get 50,000 or whatever. If it's the same kind of margin, you're adding to the atmosphere. It benefits your team too, having that extra support. So it's interesting. You said that, and because the States, the TV deals, I'm assuming, is like crazy, as well as you get that kind of in-game experience.
Well, I know growing up they had rules, and again, this wouldn't work in Australia, especially in Sydney, but they had blackout rules. So if you didn't sell out the home stadium, this is the NFL, they had blackout rules. If you didn't sell out the home stadium, they wouldn't show it on TV in your city.
Wow.
Yeah. So if the Kansas City Chiefs, if their fans didn't sell out the
So
stadium,
it incentivizes people to buy the tickets.
so you'd have like your season ticket holders. It may not be a full stadium, but the seats will be sold.
Yeah.
So that you can watch the game.
Sure.
Do
you think people would buy a ticket and still watch it at home just so that they could play? So they would.
Well, some people would be like season ticket holders.
Yeah.
And they would just keep it because if you drop it, then you join the queue.
Yeah. Sure.
And you're not guaranteed your seat. So some people have been in the same seats for
Yeah.
decades, and their family's been in those seats, and so on. So it's kind of like a tradition.
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest difference is because Sydney has, Stefan mentioned it, has so many teams.
Yeah.
Whereas you're talking about Kansas City has a million people, one team. So, 70,000 people. It's the biggest thing happening each week in Kansas City, probably. In Sydney, it's like, a game.
Would you say like what would be the I guess the ratio of members to fans? Is it like a lot of people become members in with their teams in the States?
I mean, I was a fan. I've been a fan of the Chiefs my whole life. I've never been a quote unquote member.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure. I haven't even looked into that. I think you can with like baseball.
Like it's
I don't know
really
about
that
you can't. So I remember Detroit, when I went to the Detroit game. They were like selling memberships.
Yeah.
But it's so different in America. Like the memberships are such a big thing.
Yeah.
Here, and membership packages.
Here?
But that's here. It's like it's like becoming a Dragons member
They
or
becoming. They don't push it as much there.
I think they make so much money in other
I don't
things.
even think I've seen it advertised. To be honest,
sure.
You can be a member, but it's such a low margin, a profitable margin. It's not what they sell.
People attend the games anyway. Right?
No, they sell the luxury box seats, which would pay.
I mean, I guess like membership. I don't know if like season ticket holder is what we call it. I wouldn't really call it a member. Yeah.
But like box seats, like that's what you. Yeah. I'm just assuming that memberships. Every NRL team probably has some sort of salesperson who's going out.
They do membership drives and they have all these things.
In America, they have the sales are actually working on companies, and the companies will then sponsor through box seats. Sure. So that's why you see
especially
these
baseball
celebrities. Yeah, they would get just box. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Especially baseball, they'll have a lot of companies that'll purchase these box seats and it'll rotate who's there because of so many games.
Yeah.
But season tickets is probably what you would get, and you would get the same thing in that. Like,
so a lot of people would buy season tickets.
Yeah.
Well, you know what's crazy? So we've been talking a lot about the NFL, but his team here, the Yankees, they're sold out every game, 81 games.
Yeah.
And you're talking about 50,000 seats?
The AFL, I know the AFL do a much better job with memberships. Like there's waiting lists for Collingwood. Like people put their kids in the waiting list from when they're born, so that hopefully by the time they're older that they get one, because it's like the only way they become available is someone passes on. What I mean?
AFL is just a different game.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's like the culture aspect is just a different level.
Yeah. I would say like I know I'm NRL through and through. We got some professional well-run organizations like Storm, Broncos, South, Roosters, but Collingwood's up there with like the best of them around the world. Just the way they run their organization.
I mean, as a fan of rugby league, I'd say the product on the field, I would prefer to watch rugby league.
Oh, way more.
As a systems critic, I'd say AFL has such a good system. Just even their documentary that's coming out, that this week.
The AFL's coming out with
they're coming out with their own documentary style that will bring you across like the season of last year. Things like social media, like having an NRL team only have like 900 subscribers is not that's not something that I would ever thought. I'm sure they have an Instagram presence, but like in terms of like an actual professional team, you would expect that to be something,
And it's not expensive either.
It's a high, and
it wouldn't be expensive to have a good YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So in terms of like just and I don't want to like bash them because I think they're doing a lot of good things and they're moving the game in such a progressive and forward-thinking mindset.
We'll go there. Like, what are some of the maybe you can share your perspectives of what do you think are some of the good things the game do that maybe you noticed was a little bit different to the States, and then what are some of the kind of negatives?
Well, I'll start. Positives is the NRL is such a fast-paced game.
Yeah.
They do a great job of keeping your attention. It's quick.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it's hard to compare. I remember going to a State of Origin game, and I was already a fan of Origin. Thought it was very unique. It is extremely unique. I don't think Australians realize how unique of a game that is. To have two basically all-star teams playing their heart out every year, 3 games a year. Like, we just witnessed that with the ice hockey, with Canada and the U.S. These are full professional teams. All of them are millionaires, and they're working as hard as they can, putting all the effort they can in. That happens once every 4 years.
Yeah.
We get this 3 times a year. It's an incredible game. And I remember going to a game in Sydney, and they won it. The Blues did, and that was incredible. The atmosphere, packed out stadium, and one of the things that was really interesting to me, like again talking about positives, one of the things is like just how you can come back, how you can like turn the tide of a game because of the rules where you score and then you get the ball back. Like in the NFL, you don't do that. Like if you're on offense, I remember one year the Chiefs lost a playoff game because they could not stop the other team. And so, but the Chiefs would score, they couldn't get stopped, but they couldn't stop the other team. So you couldn't build momentum. It was just touchdown, 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 back and forth. Whereas in the NRL, if you have a good attack, you can keep going. And if you're dominating possession, that's really cool. I really enjoy that aspect of it. One of the things that took some getting used to is how quiet games are, whether it's a full stadium or not. So one of the comments I was going to make is that when they play the games at the grounds, like at the home grounds, the smaller stadiums, those are fun. Those are fun atmospheres. It's a smaller crowd. I think what ruins it is when they have those games at ANZ Stadium or whatever the name of it is now, whoever's sponsoring it.
There's the club games.
Yeah, when they have the club games at the club stadiums.
Yeah.
So, like, I go to a game at St. George. I mean, that's a great atmosphere. I've been to a bunch there. Even Wollongong is a great atmosphere. It's a bigger stadium, and it's not always full, but it's more full and it's louder. But it is interesting, like, I just went to a Chiefs game this past year, and this is before they started losing, and it's just so loud, like, and every fan is fully on board, fully committed, thinks that they're going to help their team win, and I witnessed that at the Origin game. But at your week-to-week games, it's like you don't feel like you have any impact, and there's just wasn't that off-putting when, like, the team, your team would be on attack or the other team would be on attack, and it's just quiet. You can actually hear the players tackling each other, and there's 20,000 people there, and you're just like, wow, that's crazy. But I mean, there's so many positives. How quick it is, the tackles, how they run back 10 meters. League is way better than Union, in my opinion. As someone who's coming from the outside. And that's why I think they would do well to continue to have these games in Vegas, because there are fans that would really enjoy that. Because I would say that it is more similar to NFL with how exciting it can be as opposed to Union. I've been to a few Union games, and they're all right, but they're never that exciting.
It's interesting. Peter Valandris, I know you're watching. It's interesting you said that about momentum, because with the kickoffs, right, you score, you can get the ball back, because one of the new rules they wanted to introduce this year was that if the team that scores, the team that conceded a try, they have the option to kick off or receive the kick. They wanted to change that rule this year, and I believe that he wanted to introduce this because they're trying to tap into the American market. I know that they have other reasons of like they're trying to give the team, an opportunity to come back and all this, and they see how, momentum is sometimes hard to kind of wrestle back. So they figured that this might be a rule. It didn't kick off. It was such a drastic change, but I believe that they were actually trying to, because we're trying to tap into the American market.
Yeah.
Because that was one of the things that, like, Americans, when they'd give their feedback, they said that they couldn't understand, how come that team scored but they got the ball back.
Yeah, it's because they don't watch it.
Yeah.
So like if you actually watch the game for the game and not just compare it to the NFL, you would appreciate it.
Yeah.
Because it makes it unique.
Yeah.
If you change that, then it's not rugby league, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like that's what makes it pretty unique.
Yeah. And again, I think that they will.
And of course, as a fan, I've complained about it.
Uh-huh.
I've complained about it because I want my team to have the ball back when we allow tries.
But I think it will, it would end those comebacks.
Yeah, 100%.
People made the comment, the Broncos, when they won the comp last year, I think they were only in the lead like 14 minutes in the whole. They came back. Yeah. Most of the games they came back, and there were games, if that rule was implemented last year, like they wouldn't have came back in a lot of their games because.
Yeah, I think it would take away from the end of games for sure.
Yeah.
Because you once there's like 20 minutes left and you're down a couple tries, it's over.
Yeah.
You'd feel like it's over.
Yeah.
Whereas right now, you're down 2 tries, you score 1 try, you got an opportunity to do a follow-on try.
Yeah.
And it feels like, as a fan, that you're still in the game.
Yeah.
You'd obviously prefer to be up 12 than down 12, but you're still in it.
What about you, Stefan?
Yeah, I think the one thing I really enjoy about the NRL is, at least since I started watching in the 2020s, I actually really agree with their expansion strategy, but only in the Pacific or in Australia, Papua New Guinea, and even like the idea of even putting a second team in New Zealand. I actually fully agree with that. I like that
second team in New Zealand.
Yeah, you need to create some sort of story or narrative or rivalry between those two islands.
Some even say you can even develop kind of a
state of
origin with New Zealand, North Island, South Island.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have a game similar to like when the Dragons are good. That Dragons Anzac game against the Roosters, that's a big game every year. But even with the Dragons being bad, if you had 2 New Zealand teams, it would be chaos every year. It'd be amazing. It'd be
also there's just other like strategic scenarios as well in terms of deals, like TV deals. You're able to have the 6:00 game on Friday be New Zealand, which would fit because no one really wants that time slot, or you can the way that they're expanding into Perth right now, where they can take advantage of that other time slot, maybe in like a later Saturday game, or
it's going to be interesting. The time slot thing is going to be
those sort of things are sort of like no-brainers, and I feel like one thing I like about what Peter V'landys is doing in Australia, I want to make that actually very clear, because actually my viewpoint on bringing the sport to America is that I kind of think they're doing it wrong.
Okay.
Coming from an American,
the Vegas Round,
I think they're doing it wrong.
Ooh, hot take. Clip that.
But
please explain. I want to hear this.
But I will go ahead and I say I do agree that they are thinking about ways on even potentially bringing down the amount of rounds that they have because due to injuries. Yeah, maybe even creating like the month. Like I even heard great scenarios about
many wasted rounds.
Like just the month of June just becoming state of origin and wrapping in the NRLW and wrapping in the potential like North-South Island, like all these sort of like. Because you're not going to lose footy that month, right? Yeah. You don't lose footy. Instead, you're able to create, like, the whole thing is you just want to produce the game, and you might not produce a club round, but you're able to produce a game. Look at how ice hockey was. They took a break during ice hockey, but this is probably the most people have ever watched hockey. Why? Because there's still like a great story that goes along with it. What I think they're doing in America though doesn't fit. And the reason why I say that is because, unfortunately, without accessibility in a country that provides a lot of convenience after Vegas, it disappears.
Yeah, because
They turn off the tap.
The time
I remember I visited my family back home in June, July, August, and I wanted to watch a game. I'm not waking up at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I then have to pay. I think
you're
it's like
saying they
$20 a
actually
week.
Focus on a competition over there.
You have to focus on a competition. You have to, and then, but if you look at the grand scheme of things, what does the commissioner of Australian Rugby League want to do? Do they want to actually bring their best talent over to America? Is that actually their end goal?
They don't want to do that.
No, they don't want to do that because then they lose their money
the
unless they're starting it. So I don't really know what they're doing in Vegas, to be honest.
I think
it's nice. I think it's good. And I think it's, if you're an Australian in Vegas, go. And I think it's going to be for some time. But I don't see a future as long as
it's just the time difference.
Yeah.
It's so hard to over.
I think they're trying to develop an appetite.
Yeah.
You can't develop an appetite you can't develop an appetite if you then don't provide the accessibility from America to watch. You can't even watch. I spoke to so many people. I bring up this sport to so many Americans.
He's an evangelist.
It's like
It's coming from a good place.
Yeah. And I express them like, hey, NFL's over. This is a good alternative. Everyone enjoys it. Everyone literally that I've spoke to enjoys it. And then when it comes to like actually watching it, it just becomes, you have lives. You can't wake up at 2 a.m. for something that you barely even know.
Sure. Well, like, for example, and the times change around a lot. Like, for example, as a Chiefs fan, like, during the season, I'll get up at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock on Monday mornings to follow the games live. And this is a lifelong fan.
Yeah.
When they were bad, I wasn't getting up every day. Every Monday, I wasn't always. I would check the box score or catch the second half or whatever because it is the morning. Yeah. But when they're good, of course I'm up. But it's a hard battle.
I don't know how you're gonna come back. The only thing I can think of is he's trying to develop an appetite in Vegas for the sport, create awareness, and then they have their own competition. Because there's already talks about like these, there's almost this like little brother, the Roosters having a team over there.
Yeah.
Like all these, and almost like there was an idea of V'landys getting involved with the Super League. I know Lockyer has now bought the London Broncos, and then there being a relationship there between. So you send players over there, develop the craft over there. So that's the only thing I can think. Because like you said, with the time difference, there's no way they can actually follow.
But it's also hard trying to create an appetite when what's there is not like when it's not professional in terms of the competitions there. I know, for example, like I love the sport. So when I go to New York, I want to know the Brooklyn Knights. Or Brooklyn Kings. Brooklyn Kings that are there, right? They're the rugby team. Then there's the Boston Bears. Like, I know these teams, but like... I
don't even know that.
Yeah, so there's these teams that are playing rugby league. There's the LA Roosters with our ties to Sydney Roosters. Yeah. There's all these different teams, but it's like they need help promoting, and I don't see that coming from the NRL. But that's what it has to be. But then again, it's like, do I actually want... Like, what is the end goal? Is it the end goal to form a competition there? Because, if it actually does get going, 10% of the NBA is still more than what the NRL would
They would definitely have to develop a competition there, like the NBL or whatever. But
but then does Australians then go to, then do Australians then...
The pay is good.
Well, the pay is going to be better, right?
Because they're trying that with cricket right now. If you follow the Major League Cricket, I follow them on Instagram.
Well, Major League Cricket in the States?
Yeah.
They got a cricket. They're doing it.
Yeah, they got a cricket comp. It's 2020.
Okay.
T20. And
they would be more appealing, I think, to the Americans, right?
Yeah, and because of the nature of the cricket season, they'll get some of the top names over there to play.
I think you have to I think the best course of action is building the game out in England first. And Europe. Developing that competition. Once you have two healthy competitions and you boast their 20 teams over here, you have 14 teams in England.
Toronto Wolfpack,
they were there.
They started a team and they kind of they said, I think they played in the Super League or something like
Yeah,
that.
they were.
Second
Yeah,
grade or something like that.
they signed Sonny Bill for
Sonny
a very
Bill,
good contract.
Ashton
But I think with the
Sims.
Vegas round, they're raising awareness in the States, but they also dominate the market in Australia because it's such a spectacle.
And
Right.
look, we're not promoting it, but I think one of the reasons was it actually opens up a betting market for them.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So
Gotcha.
something else the Americans can bet on if they like,
Yeah.
even if they didn't wake up and watch
For the degenerate gamblers.
yeah. So
I
that
just
was kind of a,
yeah. It probably isn't the if you're sowing the seeds for growth in NRL for rugby league in America. I just think there are different ways to do it. I do think it is a spectacle. It's fun. I know so many people. If your team is going to Vegas, why not go to and visit America? You know, so it provides that opportunity, and if that's the case, then I'm all for it. But I'm a firm believer that the game can grow in America. It's just it has to be done differently, and if it's not done differently, and you just go to Vegas, you know, after every team has their way in Vegas, you know, we're not going to see it anymore.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, like then what happens to? I feel like then, you know, what happens to those in America, you know, that aren't able, you know, to have that product, and you know, it just seems as if, you know, it's a.
Because it's
something that I wish they could do better.
It's a great sport. It's such a enjoyable sport, and because it is in the off season of the NFL, there's really not a competition if you like football.
And when you know, we get a lot of, you know, when a lot of people visit us from the States, you know, we have a lot of visiting ministry and stuff, and we take them to a game, and you know, usually the first impression is like, I like this more than NFL. Just because of the pace, you know, it's quick and not spending hours at the game. But
40 minutes, no commercials.
Yeah. I guess the only way is they develop.
That's another thing they could try to do.
Yeah, figure that out.
For the NFL.
40 minute. No, the NRL has like 40-minute so like 40 minutes without a commercial.
Without a commercial, yeah. I guess.
Americans are like, what?
Yeah, it's kind of great. Yeah, but
when am I going to get my snacks?
Yeah.
Well, get it after the game. You only have to wait an hour and a half. But yeah, that's always, you know, tends to be the thing, you know, just the pace of the game. You know, the rules are a little bit, you know, more simple. You know, you have, I think a lot of Americans, they always say that they admire the fact that you have, especially if they're comparing it to the NFL, it's like, oh, players play offense and defense. Like,
yeah,
you know,
that's impressive. Yeah,
it's just obviously
the body types are a lot different though.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, athleticism and stuff like that, a lot more slimmer. And you know, if you're too big for the sport, you just go to the NFL like Jordan Mailata, you know, and then just, you know, make just a cool like 60 million over 5 years or whatever he made. But I wanted to get your opinion on this, because I know you've spoken about this, and you can obviously add to it. One of the things, you know, talking to you over the years, you were always frustrated at. You couldn't understand how we rub superstars out of games.
Yeah.
You know, they're suspended for like a grand final state of origin.
Yeah.
And I thought that would be an interesting point to bring up, because that is kind of a massive difference between, you know, sports here in general, but in particular the NRL and sports in the States. Is like, I could never imagine LeBron James being rubbed out of Game 7 in the NBA Finals, you know, but that
never happened. Yeah, so it costs too much money.
Yeah, so like I just wanted to get your views on that. What you thought about that kind of?
It's mind blowing.
Yeah,
it really is. Like, I don't think Australians realize how crazy it is. Like, I remember a couple years ago, it was like 2 or 3 years ago, Nathan Cleary had a dangerous tackle, like one bad tackle in a game. And they took him out for, was it 6 weeks? It was like 46 weeks, something like that. The best player, like, in the competition, or at least one of the top players in the competition, depending on your argument.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, he was playing the best. And they're willing to take him out because of a bang-bang play. Like, these tackles happen quick. It's not premeditated. It's not like he was trying to hurt the guy. I distinctly remember the tackle. He dumped him a bit.
That was a speed tackle.
Yeah.
Mitchell Moses, I think.
Yeah. And you know, I think he lost 6 weeks off of that.
Yeah, he got a bit,
which is unbelievable. Like, not only are, and the Australian argument is incredible. like when people respond back when I talk about this, they're like, well, you know the rules. Like, sure, you know the rules, but it's not like Nathan Cleary went into that game saying, I want to commit a penalty that's going to cost my team for 6 rounds, and I'm not going to get to play. Like, there is no world where a in-game play, unless someone like literally tried to murder someone on the field, there is no world where an NFL player would be banned 2, 3, 4 weeks off of a bang tackle. They would be fined, and it would be a substantial fine, but they wouldn't be missing games off of it, much less a superstar. Like, could you imagine Tom Brady missing a game because I don't know, he hurt somebody, or he threw an interception and then he made a stupid tackle, and like, that's how premeditated the Nathan Cleary tackle was. It wasn't. It just he got a guy in an awkward position, and now he's out for 6 weeks. That's crazy. I mean, you're talking to a guy who cheers for the Chiefs. We had a player on our team miss 6 weeks this past year. It was very unique situation. Do you know how he missed 6 weeks?
Yeah.
He got involved in a vehicular accident on a highway in Texas, nearly killed people, ran away from the scene of the crime, got arrested. That's how he lost 6 weeks.
Wow.
And Cleary loses 6 weeks off of a tackle?
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's incredible.
Because I remember you mentioning, like, it's because of the just you're making comments that, like, correct me if I'm wrong or add to it, about it being a star-driven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like, a huge story, most Australians would have heard about it at least a little bit, was Deflategate in the States, right?
Brady.
This was Tom Brady, it went to court and everything, and they, in their opinion, they proved that Tom Brady and his team tried to manipulate the rules of the game. So the quarterbacks are allowed to pick out the different footballs that they want. They have to be within a certain weight, and they have to be inflated to a certain degree. And because they're playing in a cold weather game, the argument was, and Pats fans will not agree, but the argument is that he had deflated the football a little bit so he could grip it better for this cold game. And he had deflated it. I don't think he personally didn't do it, but someone on the staff apparently deflated it to a degree to where he had a bit more control. The Pats destroyed the Colts in that game, but it was proven that it was less than what was allowed. And this is a playoff game, right? So it's not just a regular season game. But that had to be proven. They had to go to court, like literal court, prove it. And then I think he lose like 4 games off of that. And it was at the beginning of the season.
Major, yeah.
But it did affect
that was premeditated.
It was huge.
That was intentional.
It was just huge. It was in a playoff game. Yeah. But he didn't miss the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it broke in the offseason. I can't really remember the details of that. But I do remember, I think it was like the next season he missed out on a few games. And that was huge controversy that Tom Brady would be out a few games because of this decision. And, like, you have people that miss entire seasons in the NRL off of being accused of a crime and not actually
Jack
being...
DeBellin,
for example, And I don't know if he's guilty or not, but... in criminal court, he was proven innocent, and he missed an entire season.
He missed 2.
Yeah, well, yeah.
He missed 2.
And as a Dragons fan, that's when he was playing well. And I'm not saying his behavior was good or whatever, but I'm not making a judgment on that. But what I am saying is that he was accused, and based off the accusation, the NRL took away 2 seasons from him. That's his job, and in the NFL that would never happen. Like, there was a guy in the Super Bowl, playing in the Super Bowl, who was accused of, again, none of this is pretty, right? As a Christian, I don't agree with any of this behavior. But, he had done something with his girlfriend or spouse or whatever, and it was a domestic thing, and he was arrested, right? Diggs?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was arrested, but not proven guilty because he hadn't had his day in court. He was allowed to play.
So it's also it's interesting. A lot of these cases, especially what you see, it's in the NRL. You actually hear it like right away. Mm-hmm. You normally hear it a few months later in the NFL. I don't know how.
Yeah, that's true.
But I guess these big teams have some big players, and they're able to sweep it under the rug for just a little bit, to where because it's so far removed from the actual date of the occurrence.
Yeah,
but
the
like
culture,
NRL,
the culture in Australia with journalism, the journalists, it's constantly.
But the league buckles to it, right? And so I'm not on here to attack the NRL, but because they do buckle to that pressure, that's why it happens. And you're technically innocent until proven guilty, and so they're losing out on their livelihood over an accusation, and we have an example of a false accusation, and then obviously there's ones that are proven true, and so again, not justifying any behavior or any wrongdoing or anything like that, but what I'm saying is from that perspective as an American watching it, it is kind of mind-blowing. But that is a caveat. The one that actually annoys me the most as a fan is the bang bang plays that cost people weeks. It's crazy, and especially in the finals. Like to miss final games off of a judgment call. Like they go to the judiciary, and it's a judgment call sometimes, and sometimes it goes your way, and sometimes it doesn't go your way, and you'll be missing your star player for a huge game. And it's what are you doing to your product? Like you want to have your best team out there.
Yeah, like I know a lot of fans were like, well, that's the rules. That's what happens. Like a game suspension is a game.
Can change the rules,
but a grand final is not like round one. If someone was going to serve a game suspension, I'm fine. Like in a prelim, they've done something in a prelim in the final, and it's a 1 game suspension. I'm happy for them to defer that suspension to the first round the next year at least. But to miss a grand final like over that tackle,
bro, if
you are to give a suspension,
to miss 6 weeks off of a tackle, unless you hospitalize the guy, there's I don't care what the rules are. That just doesn't make.
I think as well that there may be. I feel like the NRL has been known to like knee-jerk reactions. Not saying that was a knee-jerk. Those penalties are always in place, but after the CTE stuff in the NFL.
Well, their argument is to get it out of the game.
Yeah.
And of course, like the NFL doesn't like any of that stuff either.
Yeah.
But they're not going to destroy their product off of that. They're going to fine them. If it happens a couple times, they'll miss a game for sure. Like that has happened. If they make a couple dangerous contact. But like I said, it's a bang bang play, and you're talking about Nathan Cleary. He's a small guy. He's not trying to end a career.
Exactly. What did you like? You saw Cleary was about to get suspended 2 games recently, and he got off.
I think I'm a bit indifferent about it. I don't know. I think what I will say is Greg made some really good points, and he's actually 100% right of the culture in America, and it's definitely interesting to see here in Australia.
Yeah, well, Cleary was an incident last game, so he was facing a 2-game suspension. He just got off last night, right? His dad defended him, and he shouldn't have even been charged, even sin bin during the game. But it was crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, I've got my own comments about the way our system is. He was going to get a two game suspension, and if he fights it and loses, he gets 3. And I'm like, what I mean?
Yeah, they're punishing you for trying to defend yourself.
Yeah, exactly. But
I think there's a lot of areas where definitely the game probably needs to sort of button up a little bit. I'm sure there's like a laundry list. One of my icks. Is that a common phrase, right?
Yeah.
It's probably the way they do off season. As a Jets fan, I take my off season very seriously. I make sure I look at the mock drafts.
The off season is a Super Bowl.
The off seasons after would be off season.
What's the difference?
Like the fact that they sign a player for the next, not the upcoming season, but the next season.
Like Payne Haas, he's be playing a year for the Broncos.
I remember there was someone that was signed on the Bulldogs kick out, right? And he's playing for the Panthers, and then yet before the season even started, you see him in the other jersey. I think that that's there,
kind of mind blowing.
It's sort of
you have like the drafts, but you have transfer.
I'm fine with the transfer window. I'm fine with the transfer window, right? Like, let's just say maybe if you want to do like a sign in mid-season, there's a point in the season where you would then move over. But the idea of signing a contract and playing for it, it sort of, I don't know. It just rubs me.
It
doesn't make. That would be like a trade. So, like if this broke with Payne Haas and they found out that he wanted, they would just trade him, and then the Bunnies would take over his last year and extend him.
But it's illegal and like as
it's
in
tampering.
Like you can't
even
do that. Like if
you can do it if they both agree.
No. But
you can't if they're in contract.
If Mahomes even if Mahomes said this is going to be my last year playing for the Chiefs, another team can't talk to him until a particular point after his contract. So it's his contract comes off.
It's called a free agent,
and then literally they still can't technically talk to him until the offseason, right? Is that right? Even because let's just say the playoffs happen.
The Chiefs got in trouble because they were talking to Jeremy Maclin a week before to free agency, and they lost a draft pick off of
it. And it's sort of like it's exciting, right? There's some downtime between the end of the grand final and the beginning of the season. And I feel
that's when everything happens.
Well, it should happen, right? You should have a potential of seeing these young stars get drafted. I mean, I don't think that could work. It can't work in this particular. I'm just coming from the American standpoint. I think because of the whole point of footy is grassroots, right? That's like the core of it. It actually follows a very similar style to like the Premier League the Serie A and all these other soccer or football leagues. So I think that's the way it should be followed because it's always been that way. But the idea of like signing should happen over a transfer in the same way because I think Payne Haas, everyone's going to be excited, but like, what if he then gets injured playing for the Broncos? Like, what if they get into the finals, right, and he tears his Achilles?
He's not receiving that. He's not receiving.
But that.
I
not to say that I don't want that to happen because I think he's a great player and I'm finally glad he's leaving Queensland. But the idea of like that happening is just so. That's probably the most.
Like in the NFL, that'd be tampering.
It's just the most outlandish way of doing things, and I think there's ways you can do it.
They've tried for years. This has been the argument about
Well, tampering. I mean, you can fix that though, right? You can fix tampering by having a transfer window. You can fix tampering by like what's going on with Zach Lomax is crazy. The fact that he can say I'm going to leave for another league and then come back and then just like another team sort of forcing. It just comes off very unprofessional, and I think that's probably the one thing I would think the NRL is sort of like. I love the fact that they sort of stood their ground and got on to the Parramatta Eels.
Yeah, I reside with the Eels for that
because it's just if you allow that sort of
so like in like a Payne Haas situation in the state. Let's say it's an American team. Would he like approach the club and be like, "I want to trade"?
Yeah,
and then the club would be able to trade him where they want, so they could get a good player in return.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then he can sign on wherever. Yeah. But like the idea
now he has no value to them because he's already gone.
There's someone that signed with someone came from the Storm, right? Yeah. Peasant. He got off contract with the Storm, signed 1 year with the Eels, and then already signed his next contract with the Broncos.
Yeah. Wow.
So that doesn't even make any. How do you sign two things?
The way I see American sports, they kind of. The way they move their pieces with drafts and trades and players, they move their contract. It's like it's the assets.
Yeah.
So they're just moving.
I wonder if it's a legal thing, like in America, if like there's a legal standard like work rights.
Right.
Yeah,
I wonder if in Australia it's not possible because of work rights.
It is. It was argued in the RLPA in the where they negotiate the EBA.
Mm-hmm.
Like. You can't do that because players have to uproot their families and put in schools and that. So that was actually that's the main reason.
That doesn't surprise me.
But the AFL, so from a the AFL does trades.
Yeah, they do trades.
Yeah. Right. So
do they have to get the players' permission or?
I'm not too sure.
I don't.
Because there's like some crazy stories in the States with like baseball, where like a player will be on the plane. And then they're told to get off the plane because they just got traded.
Yeah. There's someone that's playing.
And then they'll play against their own team the same.
There's someone basketball. Someone was playing.
Yeah, that happened.
Yeah, took him off. You got traded,
and then played against his team.
There's someone that went to All Star. He has on like the Boogie Cousins. He found out he was getting traded during an interview. Yeah. So
I'm not sure about that.
I do think there's a because when someone's making $20 million, it's easy to uproot, right?
Yeah, of course.
Or
that's
it's also
true.
it's also like when you get traded from one team to another, a lot of times the team would actually pay for, like, if someone is even making the minimum contract, it's like, hey, listen, I will pay for the flight, your family, we'll set you up. We know some sort of deal that you can have while you get on your feet. What I'm assuming is a lot of these teams don't have those funds to do it, right? Going from Townsville, down to Melbourne. I mean, maybe the Storm deal. That's probably the wrong example, but like maybe going from Townsville to the Knights, right? Like that doesn't seem like a.
Especially if you're on minimum wage, they probably wouldn't.
Yeah, it's a tough. That's a.
So that's probably a balancing act.
If you're a marquee player, that probably.
See, that's why it's good to talk about this stuff. We come with our opinions, but then you see the other side of it, because like as Americans, we're known for our opinions. So.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes,
but
there's a lot of the way you again, like I was saying, like it's
Well, I personally hadn't even thought about worker rights.
Yeah.
My assumption was like maybe there was a.
No, that was the argument. That was negotiated in the EBA. It was pretty much about that.
But even in the lowest leagues of soccer, this happens, when they're not making
transfers.
These clubs, and in soccer, the finances are so much tighter, because if you fall through or if you don't make the right decisions, you can get relegated, which that's actually another financial burden on top of that. So I think these clubs have money to sort of invest in this sort of lifestyle. The off season also brings money. Right, like because
people are paying
from
attention.
a period of time. You have like the AFL, when they do their draft, they have sponsorships. Imagine being able to now market, have different drinks. You have commercials during it. I'm not saying that, again, the draft won't work in this particular case, but you can have
well, like
the New South Wales,
the first week of the off season, like when the trade window actually opens up in the NFL, is so important. We all follow it, and we're all like trying to see what's happening. It's the same thing with baseball. As soon as the season is over, officially over, I think it's like a month later, then they're open for trades, and that's when you're building your team for the next season.
We kind of tend to have that culture because of the way it is. It's like, okay, say Payne Haas is leaving, all right, boys, let's do it one more year. Let's send them out a winner and stuff like that.
That's very really common. That's a big part
that's
what I've been seeing.
Well, I think it's had to be adopted. That mindset.
Exactly. No, but that's
I do think there's I do see that, and maybe that's just the cultural aspect of it, and if that never changes because it makes up the sort of the way they play, then you don't change it.
I would be for, and I think that's the thing about draft systems as well, because of grassroots, clubs actually invest a lot in the junior system. So to bring up a junior, a superstar, and then he gets drafted, like.
But then you have financial ties, right?
The NFL, they invest in their grassroots, and they never get those players.
But like
unless you're the Cowboys,
soccer clubs invest. There's academies all over the place, but what you do is you get the money back that you invest in, right?
Yeah.
So there's that sort of transfer period where you can make back the money, send someone for Penrith, if they have a halfback in waiting, they can. I mean, that's what probably they did with Katoa, but they just kind of lost them, right? Because you have Nathan Clary, you had Jerome Lua at the time. There's no compensation, so you can create that money. Like the money can come in, and when you use that money, you do more grassroots, right? You create that foundation.
Many teams are definitely at a disadvantage because they have a larger juniors kind of pool region. So they get a lot of players poached, and Penrith seems to be the poaching ground at the moment.
But that's
Well, I appreciate is coming on and giving us your perspective leading into Vegas round, and I don't know how long we went for, but that's the longest one so far. So, but I appreciate you coming on. Thank you for the support, and if you're looking for some, good spiritual Christian content, make sure you check out the Hacker podcast as well. He's a man of many talents. He's wearing many hats, pastoring, and between destinations as well. I'll plug your wife's. I was on there actually. I recorded an episode last Saturday. So We'll put that link in the show notes. I don't know how to do that. I always hear you say it. So I always say it, so we'll figure that out. But no, I appreciate you coming on. Very good friends of mine, and I've just loved how you've fell in love with the sport, enjoy the sport, follow the sport, and it was just great to get your perspective on it. They're not complaining, Americans. They were just giving their insight, and there's plenty of things that I'm sure we can learn from each other. But
we follow it regardless.
Yeah.
That's all right. You can call us complaining. That's all right.
So by this time next year, Stefan will be going for the Perth Bears. He'll be going for it. But I appreciate you guys coming on. Thanks heaps for joining us. Make sure you follow us on all the platforms: Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and connect with us on social media. Leave a comment, like, follow, subscribe, do all that stuff. But I appreciate you all joining in the show. So stay blessed.